Redress mourns the loss of our dear friend and our hero, Frank Emi. We are fortunate to have known Frank since 1983, when he first joined NCRR. It was the early days of the redress movement when we first learned about the Fair Play Committee and America's concentration camps. Why hadn't we learned about these things before? And about those few who, like Frank Emi, fought back. It was through the redress movement and hearing people's stories that our history was slowly revealed. NCRR is comprised of Nisei and Sansei. We worked side by side with Frank for almost 30 years. It was a match made in heaven. Sansei had the benefit of growing up with the civil rights movement, protests, marches. Frank had no such benefit. He took his stand way before the civil rights movement. He really was way ahead of his time. We instantly knew that we had a hero and a fighter in our midst. Frank and the other Nisei inspired us to demand that the U.S. government right the wrong of the wartime incarceration and for us to struggle for reparations. He was an active member of NCRR. He was interviewed often and spoke to media about the camps, the Fair Play Committee, and about the injustices. He traveled to D.C. with us on our lobbying delegation, and it was he who suggested that he not mention that he was a draft resistor during our congressional meetings. He really was for the greater good. Frank emceed important programs like the Day of Remembrances, and in 1989, our Day of Protest, because the government had not funded the redress bill. He participated in our regular monthly meetings, and he would stay afterwards and we would eat lunch together in Little Tokyo. We have wonderful memories of that. In 1987, Frank accepted NCRR's very first Fighting Spirit Award at our Day of Remembrance program. Who better to receive recognition for his fighting spirit? In 1999, NCRR honored the Fair Play Committee and the Resistors of Conscience at another DOR. Frank was able to accept that award on his friend's behalf. And we were heartened when the JACL acknowledged the Fair Play Committee of Resistors in 2000, and so grateful that Frank and many of the other courageous men have lived to see that day. NCR members, almost all who are here today, have shared their special remembrances of Frank, which I'd like to share now. Susie Katsuda recalls that her father, who demonstrated judo in the 1932 Olympics, knew of Frank and admired his judo skills and discipline. Richard Katsuda marveled at Frank's lifelong dedication to judo, going to the Hollywood dojo well into his 90s. Kathy Masaoka adds, Frank had strong feelings for Little Tokyo. He joined in with hundreds of college students who came out to help repair the San Pedro Firm building in the late 80s so that the residents there would not have to live in slum-like conditions. Also, Frank was admired and respected by members of the Asian American Vietnam Veterans Association, who had served in Vietnam and returned to protest that war. The resistors and Frank supported those men and young people like Aaron Watada for his courage to refuse to fight in an illegal and immoral war. Guy Aoki describes Frank as classy for having the calm and dignified manner as he responded to attacks from some of the 442 guys. Frank had a live and let live attitude, and he simply said, they did what they thought they had to do, and we did what we thought we had to do. The rich legacy that Frank leaves us is highlighted by the courageous and principled position he took as a leader of the Fair Play Committee. This historic stand has resonated with generations of young people and has inspired so many of them. Both Glenn Kitayama and Gan Matsuda were so inspired. They share that as Glenn grew older and began to understand the realities of the camps, he grew angry and decided to learn more about the issues. He wondered, where are our heroes in the Japanese American community? Where are our Rosa Parks and Cesar Chavez's? As far as he knew, there weren't any heroes who stood up for justice while the government herded Japanese Americans away and locked them behind barbed wire. Glenn remarked, To me, that's what makes Frank Emi a true American hero. He didn't lose his moral compass in a time of great crisis. He had the courage to stand up for his beliefs when everyone else was willing to go along with the crowd and not cause any trouble. Frank Emi is the person that all of us want to be when the chips are down. Unfortunately, most of us fall short when confronted with a crisis of the magnitude that Frank faced. Gan Matsuda added, Frank became even more of a hero in my eyes for his work with NCRR in support of other communities facing racism and injustice, and most recently Muslim Americans who faced racial profiling or worse. Frank always stood up and spoke out in solidarity, drawing parallels to his own experiences. I realized that Frank's courage, strength and conviction, his consistent support of people fighting discrimination and injustice, on top of his experiences as a draft resistor, are among the primary reasons that I became an activist. Frank Emi has had a powerful influence and lasting impact on several generations of Japanese Americans and will continue to inspire all who learn about him. I believe that we share Jim Matsuoka's sentiments when he says, we were privileged to know him. He will be greatly missed by his family and friends, the Nikkei community, and all who take pride in valuing our freedoms as American citizens. Dear Frank, you are truly a great American hero, and you are our hero. We will miss you terribly. Rest in peace,